Good afternoon, everybody. How you doing on today? Welcome to day 4 of the Write Your Book Challenge on today. And so what I'm going to go over what we've gone through so far. On day 1, we was talking about brainstorming some titles so we can get a title for our particular book. And I also let you know you may brainstorm some titles, but as you begin to write the book, your title is subject to change. So don't get alarmed if God begin to drop something in your spirit and you want to change your title. It's all right to change your title. As long as you're changing it before, the book is fully written, it's okay to change your title. Day 2, we talked about writing out our chapters. I gave you homework to do 5 chapters, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, and write out beside there what is the name of your chapters and go all the way down to number 5. You may have more than 5 chapters, but I just want to get you started on the basics. You may have more than 5 chapters because most of my books, I came on here and I show you different books have different amount of chapters. So you can have as less chapters as you desire, or you can have more chapters as you desire. The more chapters you have, the more bigger your book is going to be. And so number 3 we did was write your first chapter. So I told you on last night to go in and whatever that chapter 1 that you had for last night, to go ahead and begin to write that chapter and not really worry about the spelling, not really worry about the structure of the sentences. But if you're writing it on Microsoft Word online now, it's going to help you. It's going to be a big help. Many of us, we've been in school years ago, and sometimes my spelling is off. I know my spelling is off. And so whenever I begin to type, and then when I type something in Microsoft Word online, if my spelling is off, have a little red line up on it. And then when I click on it, my right click with my mouse, it'll give me a correct word, so I can just use that, click on that word, and it immediately becomes in the middle of that particular sentence. And so today what we're going to talk about is reading over your chapter. If you did your homework last night, so now is the day that you're going to read over your chapter. And the reason being you're going to do that, so you want it to make sense. You don't want it to be a lot of jumbled words together. You want it to flow freely, that when somebody is reading it, just like we was talking about in Habakkuk in 2, that when we to write the vision on tablets, and when somebody else read that particular vision or read your particular book, they'll be able to get whatever you're trying to convey in your book. They'll be able to receive what you're saying through that book. So it's so very important that whatever chapter that we are writing, we go back afterwards, after we written everything, we done brainstorm everything. It's so important that we will go back after then and read over that chapter to make it sure it's flowing good. Make sure you have things in its proper places on that particular chapter. So it said read it out loud to fix the flow of your chapter. So we want to read it out loud. I do it all the time, when I'm writing certain, and not only that, when I'm writing a book, but when I'm writing something on Facebook, sometimes I read it, and then now it seemed like it flowed good, and then later on I come back and go back and read it again, and many times I got to take a word out or add a word. So that's what we're going to do. Begin to read over your particular chapter to see if it's flowing good, to see if it's making sense, to see if it's readable, see if it's clear about what you're trying to convey to the reader. That, so not only that, it's so helpful to do that. Why? Because many times as you begin to read over it and you read it out loud, then God begin to download some other things that you may need to add to that chapter, so you can begin to add things to that particular chapter. And so said just read over it. So this is what we're going to talk about today, is just reading over that particular chapter. Just like you said, when you're doing the Microsoft Word online, it's going to help you. It's going to help you with the spelling. It's going to help you with your sentence structure. It's going to help you, it's going to tell you if you got a fragmented sentence, that you may have to add some conjunction to it to bring the sentences together to make them make sense. So that this is a part of it, writing a book, to making sure that what we're saying is credible, that what we're saying, that, that whenever a person reads that particular chapter of your book, they can really receive what you're trying to convey to them at any time. And so that is so important. So those that come on the replay or those that come on the live, if you feel like somebody that want to write a book, share these videos with that particular person so it can be a blessing to that person's life, so they can know without a shadow of doubt that God has help for them out there. They don't have to feel like they don't have the resources to be able to write their book, because God has people out here, not only me, He has other people out here that are willing to help you write your book so you can have a completed written book, a published book by the end of this year. And so for that, I'm going to read something out. This particular book, this is my number 6 book. And reason I got this book, the Lord wanted me to get this book today, was because all my other books, my first 5 books, I had a publisher at that particular time, but I was able to do it, finally able to do it with a publisher. But as God began to give me more books to write, because He gave me 4 books right behind each other to write. And so when I began to add up the costs, I realized that I couldn't use a publisher at that particular time, because I needed to be able to learn how to do it through Amazon KDP. So this is the first book that I wrote on my own through Amazon KDP. And, when I first wrote this book, I had to go back and change. Why? Because I had went on, I think Fiverr, and I had paid somebody to do it. And they really didn't do a lot of good editing in this particular book. And so what I had to do, I had to pray and ask God to help me to be able to edit this book, because I didn't need to have to pay anybody else to edit it. I needed to be able to edit it in my, God was going to help me edit it. So I prayed about it, and I was able to go ahead and edit this book. And so I'm going to read chapter 1, a little bit out of chapter 1 in this particular book. This particular book, it said, Walking in the Gift of Prayer. Walking in the Gift of Faith prayer book. So this is a prayer book. It talks about all different levels of faith, and also has a prayer behind it. So if your faith is weak at any time, you can read this particular prayer at the end of each chapter, and then your faith can begin to grow by leaps and bounds. So I'm just going to read this particular chapter. I'm not going to read the whole chapter. I'm just going to read the first paragraph out of this chapter. And when I began to read it earlier, as I read it, it really made sense as to why I need to read it right now for those that's on the live and those that come on the replay. So this particular chapter is chapter 1. The name of it is Radical Faith. And it said the definition of radical faith in Merriam-Webster Dictionary is very different from the unusual or traditional or extreme. The scratching your head kind of faith, because you knew that it had to be God, because it was something that you couldn't do on your own. This kind of faith is radical because you have confidence in God to do the exceedingly above all that you could ask or think in your life, meaning that you trust God to work it out however He wants to work it out in your life. So when God began to show up and show out in your life, it leaves you starstruck and in awe of the goodness of God in your life. You keep trying to wrap your mind around what just happened in your life, but there is no way that you can explain this. This is called radical faith, because you are blown away about what God has done in your life. God has done an acceleration in your life, and what may have taken other people years to do, God has graced you to be able to do it in lesser time. And so when I read that earlier, it really made sense, because God is going to grace you to be able to write your book faster than anybody else have written a book. And many times we feel like that, it's going to take a long time to write it. But if we can be consistent, we can write at least 15 to 20 minutes each and every day, that we'll have a completed book. Just maybe about 2 to 3 months down the line, we'll will have a completed book. So this, just know without a shadow of doubt, it doesn't have to take you a year to write a book. It doesn't have to take you 6 months to write a book. God can bless you and grace you to be able to write a book in no time. I know one of my books, I was able to write it in a month's time because I was being consistent at the particular time. But I know if you have family, you have children, and you can write it. If you're working from home, maybe you can write it while your children is in school, and you can go ahead and do that particular thing. Then you can do it without having anybody disturbing you at any particular time. And so what we're talking about today is just reading over that chapter. If you wrote that chapter on last night, go back and read over that chapter. Go ahead and see if it's flowing like it needs to flow. And so, once you read it and you begin to read it, and if it's not flowing exactly where it needs to flow, then you just ask God for help. And so I do that all the time. I always ask God for help. And then he'll begin to give me other words to put in there so the sentence begin to make sense. So when somebody can read it, they can run with it at that particular time. And so whatever you don't get all done, what you just reading over, you just doing some small corrections, you don't have to worry about doing a whole lot of corrections. You just want to know it's flowing good. You just, everything else is going to be completed once you have your editor, whoever you're going to pay to edit the book. Once you have the editor begin to look at it, they're going to begin to edit it in the manner that they need to edit it in. When you have, I got an English teacher. I did try Fiverr, but that particular one that I tried, that particular one didn't work out. But I did try Fiverr again with another book that I did publish, and they did real well with that. So it's just a matter of choosing the right one and making sure you're reading over it when somebody's editing your book. Don't just take it for granted that everything is in the proper place. Make sure you're reading over it. As somebody's edited, go back and read over it. And then if you find any more mistakes, reach out to that person and maybe you screenshot the mistakes or whatever. Write them down on a piece of paper until you can get in there and text them or whatever. And then when they go back in there and look, they'll go back into it and correct it. Make sure you always proofread it. So that was one of the mistakes that I made with this particular book. I counted for granted that she did an excellent job, and I didn't proofread it. And so when I went to go ahead and have it published, I went through Amazon KDP and went through all the process of Amazon KDP. And so what I did was order me an author copy. So that is how you're going to be able to do it. Order you an author copy before your book comes out. And when I ordered the author copy, when I got it, the book was basically jacked up, you know what I'm saying? And I said, Lord, I know I should have proofread it, and then I should have got back with her. And so when I got the author copy and looked at it, so I had time to go in and change everything. So I had to go in there and change everything. And you know what I'm saying? And some, at that particular time, some of the people had already ordered their books. So I reached out to everybody that had ordered their books, and I told them that I would replace the book. So everyone that had ordered a book that was something wrong with with it, I went back and called everybody and got in touch with everybody, and they gave me their information. And guess what? I sent them out a complete book once I got it. So I don't want you to do it like me, you know what I'm saying? I want you to do it better than me, but don't be overwhelmed about it. It's easy to do, because you're going to be able to go inside of Amazon KDP, and you're going to be able to look through everything. You can go through the little preview slide, and you can look through the book and see if everything is in proper place. But like I said, this was my first book in Amazon KDP, doing it by myself. Since then, I've learned so much, since doing all these other books. I've learned, and now, I'm doing it really well. I'm doing it better. And so, sometimes, you'll go through there, you may find mistakes, in your book. But when you're having that downtime before you get your book out there, it's best to go ahead and get it fixed perfectly before you put it out there, which like I said, I had to go ahead and just eat that cost, and go ahead and replace those books, because I want to put something that's excellent out there, because I didn't, it was my fault that I didn't proofread. And so it's so very important that we proofread your book. It's okay. It's the people not going to be upset with you proofreading. Is, you know, if you find some mistakes, and you just let the people know, whoever you got to edit it, and let them know there's some mistakes in it, that they didn't catch everything, and they will correct it, because now the person that I'm using is an English teacher, and whenever thing is, you know, when I read it over and I see something that's out of whack, I will reach out to her and she will fix it. And so that is the importance of reading over your work. Please read over your work. It's so very important that you do. Don't take it for granted that everything is on the up and up. Read over your work so you won't have to, you know, do like I did. Had to go back and redo everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's so very important that we do that. And so that is, you know, that is our homework tonight. If you wrote that chapter 1 on last night, you go ahead and proofread it. And just, you know, you don't have to do no deep down editing, you know, just make sure it makes sense. Make sure that the sentences make sense. That when you were reading it, you know, just like you're reading any other book, that it was flowing good, that it flows real good. And so when you do that, you won't have any problem, any issues. So once you proofread that and everything checks out fine, go ahead and write your chapter 2. And, you know, and then tomorrow we'll go over that particular thing on tomorrow. So I just want to let you know, you know, if you need to purchase my book is on Amazon. And the name of it is How to Write a Book 101. And an interactive writing workbook for beginners by LaRose Richardson is only $14.99. And this book is going to take you step by step from the title all the way to the end of the book. It's also going to walk you through some going on. It's going to walk you through Amazon KDP. It's going to help you, show you how to go in there and do your application, how to go in there and upload your book. It's also going to show you how to go to copyright.gov, which we definitely got to copyright it. It has to be copyrighted before we publish it, so nobody can steal your book. And so this is what we're going to do on tonight. Just go in there. If you don't proofread it, go in there and proofread it. It doesn't have to be no major editing. Just go in there and make sure it's making sense. That whenever somebody read it, it's going to make sense to them. And then after that, after you're confident with that, go ahead and write your chapter 2. And then we'll come back tomorrow. So make sure, you know, if you know somebody that needs this particular lesson, it's just just a basic lesson. And if you're writing chapters, guess what? You are already an author. You know what I'm saying? Your book just hadn't been published yet, but you are already an author. And so you just go ahead and, you know, and write your chapters. And and next thing you know, like I said, it's going to begin to flow so well with you. I know it did with me. Whenever I first wrote my first chapter in this particular book, everything else began to flow. You know, and that's what God wanted to do. He'll let it flow in our life like that, because you have the scribal anointing. All you got to do is receive it. You know, it's a gift. The scribal anointing is a gift. All we got to do is receive it by faith and begin to walk in it. And, you know, when we receive it by faith and begin to walk in it, so you got to begin to write your book. And the more you write your chapters, and the next thing you know, you're going to have a completed book. And, you know, if you get my book, it's going to, like I said, it's going to walk you through all of it. From the front to the back, as they say. It's going to walk you through all of it. And that book is really going to be a blessing to you. It's really going to help you to be able to write your completed book this year. This is the year of the new. God's doing a new thing in your life. You know, we cannot continue to stay in our old season. God is giving you a new season. It's time to step over into your new season, for you can be a published author in the year of 2026. So I see y'all tomorrow. And what we're going to do on tomorrow, we're going to talk about the chapters, the second chapter that you wrote. We're going to talk about what you found in the first chapter that you wrote, and see what, as you're writing the second chapter, the more you write those chapters, the better it's going to flow for you. So that is all we're going to talk about today. I'll see y'all tomorrow, and tomorrow is day 5 of the Write Your Book Challenge. If you made it to day 5, you're doing an awesome work, and God has some amazing things for your life. Just know that God has some amazing things for your life. Well, okay, that is all I'm going to say on today. I will see y'all tomorrow at 1 o'clock to do the fifth day of how to write your book challenge. See y'all then.